Have you ever taken a landscape shot to find out that the outer edges are warped? Even with wide-angle lenses on a high-end camera, there's distortion on the outer edges. Photoshop has 3 different tools that you can use to fix that. Let's get started. This image was taken with a wide-angle camera on a tripod. We can see on the outer edges that distortion. Command R to turn on rulers, and you can see how skewed those edges are. Is take our background, duplicate it. Let's make this a smart object to make it non-destructive. And go to Edit, Transform, Perspective. Dragging on the nodes, it fixes the whole image in just a couple clicks. And that's it. Commit with the check mark. Here it was before, skewed, after, straight. Remove the guides. And if we take away the original, we're going to enlarge the image to focus in on the guest house. And there you go. Here's an example of another wide-angle shot taken where the walls are skewed, but more importantly, it looks like this couch is falling off a cliff. Let's again duplicate the background, our original. Let's place a couple guides so we can see the difference. Edit, transform, distort. Bringing it in, using our guides that we set. And the reason we didn't use perspective is by having distort, we can correct another plane, not just the image. We used the perspect tool on the last one. On this one, we use distort in order to make the correction for this right side of the image. Commit with the check or hit return or enter. And there we go. After, straight, you can see before the original. Clear the guides with some translucent areas or fill with content aware. But in this instance, we want to zoom in for a clean image. The third tool is perspective warp. And in this particular image, you can clearly see the distortion on the outer edges and the front wall branching out on the vanishing point. Let's duplicate our background. Let's make it a smart object, non-destructive. And then go to Edit, Perspective Warp. And we're going to define each of the spaces in this image with the grid. Each of the 5 walls, and notice as you get closer, it highlights, let it connect. So if we zoom out, that's our perspective. And if we hit warp to adjust, or W, it converts it. If we hit L, it brings you back to layout to make more adjustments. So W, and then if you hit the shift key, it automatically makes these warped edges straight. It highlights in yellow, click, straight. Highlights in yellow, and in 2 clicks, it straightened out that front wall. And then we can make minor adjustments as needed, although this looks pretty good. We'll hit the check mark or return to commit. It's processing the change on the smart object. And the beauty of smart objects is this. You could easily, non-destructive, you could turn it off to see the original, turn it back on, but it's running through the process. We'll duplicate our original, make it a smart object. Edit, perspective warp, and we'll define these areas. Highlight, connect. Defined our grid, and if we hit W or warp here, we can make adjustments. We hit the shift key, automatically making the wall straight, but obviously that's a little bit too much. But you're about to see why the perspective warp tool doesn't quite work on this particular image because of the elements that are in the image, like the linear stair rail. Let's hit check mark. We have a little bit of translucency, but the distortion that this caused because of a linear element. So here's the regular stair rail and the perspective tool. So as we can see, the perspective warp tool didn't work. Let's name this layer so we can compare to the distort tool. Let's duplicate it one more again. This is our original. We're going to be using the distort this time out. With our rulers on, let's place a few guides. Edit. Distort. Now, obviously, these were 20-foot ceilings, so we have to stretch a little bit. Again, distort allows you to stretch and squeeze, but you just simply don't want to exaggerate where it doesn't look realistic. We have some translucency. We're going to enlarge the image slightly to cut some of those areas out. The focus is really that wall. Using the lasso tool, click on the outside areas, hitting the shift key to add this other area. Generative fill, leave it blank, let Photoshop do its thing, and it was that easy. We'll select both, shift, merge visible, and here, the distort tool. The original, the perspective warp tool, ruined that stair rail. So with all those, you have options when making your images straight. If you like this tutorial, hit like and follow.